Let's make my stepstones quilt pattern, which uses all forms of pre-cut scraps. I'm talking about jelly rolls, charm packs, leftover layer cakes, binding, and even leftover backing fabric can be used. We're just going to throw it all in there. And for this pattern, you will need 26 2.5-inch by 10-inch rectangles, perfect for those jelly roll scraps, binding leftovers, and even layer cake leftovers trimmed down. Next, you will need 10 4.5-inch squares, perfect for charm packs and also layer cakes, once again trimmed down, and I will be trimming leftover charm packs for this pattern. And lastly, 4 8.5-inch squares, which are perfect for layer cakes if you would like a scrappier look, but today I am going to be using backing scraps from another quilt. This pattern will yield a 52-inch by 16-inch table runner, and all of those measurements I listed will be down in the video's description down below. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. First, you will need to select two 2.5-inch by 10-inch rectangles in mixed prints and sew them together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Afterward, you will cut four 2.5-inch by 4.5-inch rectangles per each strip. Then you will rotate a few of them around to create a checkerboard-like pattern, and then sew them all together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance, leaving you with a 4.5-inch by 8.5-inch rectangle. And that's it. Now all of your blocks are completed, and it's time to piece your quilt top together. First step, you will use your 8.5-inch squares as your main block. Then you will use the checkerboard rectangles as your sashing, and the 4.5-inch squares will be your cornerstones. You will be framing up your 8.5-inch squares all the way around, and as always, you will sew your blocks together to form rows, and lastly, sew your rows together to complete your quilt top. And here is what my stepstones quilt pattern looks like all finished. For the backing, I am using a matching print from within the collection. Then I am going with glide threads in the color Mocha. And here is what my quilt looks like all quilted. This pattern is perfect to use for all of your pre-cut scraps, yielding you a 52-inch by 16-inch table runner. And if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.